Hello, friends. Thanks for joining the Multifamily Leaders Podcast, where we dive into the wide world of multifamily. I am your host for today, Marcus Armstrong. Tag along as we speak with industry leaders to hear their insights on multifamily trends, reputation excellence, leadership development, and so much more. Today, we're joined by Ashley Jenkins, a rising star in the property management world. Not only is she a dedicated multi-site manager for Greystar in the Wild West of the Permian Basin, but she's also a member of the Permian Basin Apartment Association's Board of Directors. She's also been given the prestigious National Apartment Association's 20 in their 20s award in the class of 2023. Ashley's passion for the industry and commitment to excellence are truly inspiring. Please welcome Ashley.
Marcus, thank you so much for that introduction. It's such an honor and a blessing to be here. And, you say rising star, and I humbly, very humbly accept that. But, I can't say that I would have been here without the amazing people that I've met all along the way, including yourself. You were actually on the 2023 NEA 20 in their 20s. And so, big kudos to you. And again, just thank you so much for having me here today.
Yeah, no problem, and thank you for recognizing the award as well. It's really funny. Well, we were up in Atlanta, and we had the chance to talk to each other at the little NAA 20 in their 20s meet and greet. I saw something within you, right? You bring this air about you, like not in a rude way, but like to find out that you were in the 20 in their 20s was surprising because you just bring this air of professionalism and I would say excellence with you, right? If you had told me that you were the CEO of some company, management company, I'd be like, oh yeah, obviously, this is exactly who I'm talking to right now. Ashley, how about a question for you? Because I feel like this is something that everyone in the industry kind of experiences, but no one starts as a little kid and says, wow, I just want to work in property management, right? How did you get started in the industry?
So actually, I wrote down on those, like, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I just said, I want to be a landlord property manager. I want to be a therapist and a babysitter and a collections expert. No, I'm totally kidding. I think growing up, I wanted to be a police officer, which I think property management is kind of set, it's kind of the same thing. I mean, you do some police work with the team on site, the residents, but I had actually gotten into this industry by a complete accident. And I think that is pretty common with a lot of people in this industry. So before I was in property management, I moved out to West Texas, the best Texas, when I was 18, and I was a tire technician for Discount Tire. So I was the person. You're driving down the road and you run over a couple of nails and you're like, I am late to my business meeting. I got to take my tire into the shop, and you would take it in there. I was the one who fixed it. So hopefully made a lot of people happy back in the day. And that wasn't enough money. So I ended up becoming a gymnastics coach. And I realized that I maybe was not as flexible as I thought I was. Had a bad accident on that trampoline, and it put me out of both jobs. So I was like on crutches. I couldn't walk. And I remember I was living in this apartment at the time. It was a old 1980s property, upstairs, not too great when you have an injury, of course. And I remember being down in the leasing office, and the property manager, you never really saw the property manager. She was always in the back handling the behind the scenes thing. And she came out and we just started talking. And in that conversation, she, I want to say reluctantly, asked me if I wanted to be her leasing agent. I don't know if she just felt bad for me. She's like, well, she can't run away to another job. She's stuck here. And she asked me if I wanted to be a leasing agent. And we had kind of made this mutual agreement that I was going to work with her for 3 months until she could find somebody who she actually wanted to place in that role. 3 months came and went. I met the owner of the company, and he really wanted me to stay on. And from there, I think I was on the job for about 6 months, and she made me her manager in training. And I acquired my first property as a manager about a year after starting in the industry. So from tires to management, you never heard of that kind of story, but that was me. That's how I ended up where
I think tires to management is interesting, but I feel like you glossed over this gymnastics instructor or whatever. So like tires, gymnastics, then property management. Like That's a pretty unique thing. And I think that reigns true for so many in the industry. Because again, no one starts out as a kid and is like, yeah, I'm just going to lease apartments and then own a property and, manage that and take care of all that stuff. Right? People want to be like rocket scientists. But I think that there's something really fun about the industry, right? There's a human aspect that I think people are just like, you gravitationally pulled to. Question for you, Ashley. Could you see yourself doing anything else other than this?
Oh gosh. I've asked myself that a lot of times because I still feel like I'm still young and I think about all the limitless, boundless opportunities, but everything I look at has not even come close to what I do in my job currently. I tried insurance sales for a little bit, and I realized that I was really bad at that. So I don't think I want to try anything else because I don't like being bad at stuff. But what I love about property management the most is it's not just one thing. And I enjoy learning and trying new things. So, like I said, you learn accounting, you learn good people skills. And so everything about this industry, I love it. And so I really couldn't see myself doing anything else but this industry.
Love to hear that from you. You're talking a lot about your drive and ambition and being so young. One of the things that I found out about you while we were talking in Atlanta was that you're part of the board of directors for the Permian Basin Apartment Association. And I would just have to think to myself that you have to be one of the younger members for, any of the apartment association board of directors. What made you want to be part of that? What keeps you so interested in that? And if I was a young property manager, or maybe I'm fresh out of high school and I'm a leasing associate or a leasing professional, maintenance professional, what should I do to try to get myself positioned to be like you?
Well, I love that question. I want to say, don't be like me. Be who you are. Be yourself, because that's going to be the exact thing that people need on their board of directors, committees. And again, I got into the board of directors because somebody asked me to get more involved with the association. So like, I need somebody to sign up for this committee. I said, I want to sign up for a committee. I don't know what that is, but let's do it. Um, and it turns out there was a vacant spot, and I just applied. And that was kind of a common theme that I've experienced through this industry is there are so many opportunities, awards, scholarships, like the 20 in their 20s. I didn't think I even had a chance at winning, but I just applied. And that's the thing is like the worst somebody can tell you is no. And let somebody else be the person to do that. Don't be the person to do that to yourself. And so for the board of directors, one of my former regional managers happened to be on the board of directors, and she just wanted me to get more involved in the committees. And so that's where I had started, was just showing up to the events of the apartment association. And my apartment association oversees 16 counties. So we're very big in our area, but we kind of centralize on the Midland Odessa, since a lot of our submarket is like the smaller towns. And so that's kind of just how it started. Was I decided to get more involved in just starting with those committees, getting myself out there, meeting people, making connections, networking, and then just seeing what there was a lack of maybe in the association, and if there was something I could do to fix that, support that, and play a role in it. So I started in the board of directors 2022, 2023, I want to say. Yep, 2022. I had to look at something. And in 2023, Josh Nichols from the Texas Apartment Association had come down and said, "You're going to start the next gen committee." Again, I don't know what that is, but okay. And from there, we actually started the first 2024 scholarship program to award individuals with money to take their CAM, go to Apartmentalize, go to TAA1, and just do some continuing ed in this industry. We are launching a multifamily maintenance readiness program. And so it was very limitless and boundless getting in with the association, because I could take my passions and be around a group of people who also had the same passions and start working towards common goals, which was bettering our industry, bettering ourselves, and just doing more for people. So I would say just get involved with your association in whatever capacity that looks like, showing up to events, getting onto a committee, and then from there, if you want to move up, sign up put your name out there for the board of directors. You never know who's going to stop by your property with cookies and say congratulations.
It's so funny to me that you were, saying that you had no chance when you did the 20 in their 20s, or that you were surprised that someone came to you and said you're going to start the next gen committee for your association, because I could not see a more perfect person. You embody what I think is right with the industry, right? You're someone who cares a lot, and you're not selfish about it, right? You want to provide this information to anyone else who's willing to listen or learn. Prior to getting on this episode, right, you were talking about how you've done several more, in-person teachings and things like that. And I think that's super great to see. Okay. I got to throw a curveball at you for the time being. Okay. One of the things that we do at J Turner Research is we look at online reviews. And unfortunately, not all online reviews are happy reviews. In fact, some of
I know
them
how
can
it
get
goes.
some of them can get pretty crazy. So I would like to show you this review, and I just want to get your reaction to it, because I think it took someone a serious amount of emotion to write this one. So let me see here.
No, I'm so excited for this. Okay, so the review says this place is like a black hole for communication. I swear, getting a hold of somebody in the office is like trying to contact aliens. I once called 15 times in a row and got nothing but their voicemail message on repeat. I even tried sending smoke signals, but I think the wind just blew the smoke back in my apartment. Maybe the only respond to carrier pigeons. 0 out of 10 would not recommend unless you enjoy the silent treatment. I just imagine somebody just sitting there in the Target parking lot drinking a Starbucks, just saying, you know what? I can't get a hold of these people, not realizing that it's maybe a Sunday afternoon and our office isn't even open. But, I was reading it and a part of me is like, is that from my property? Is that from one of my properties back in the day?
I think
And
it's really funny that you said like Target parking lot, because I think that's exactly where I had a meltdown with my dog's vet the other day. I was at Target and I was trying to get a hold of them, and I was losing my mind because they would not answer. And anytime they did, it was like an immediate hang up. But it was like in Target. So like it wasn't even like at the office or anything like that. Just losing my mind that they wouldn't answer.
say Target kind of like counteracts the pain of being ignored because you can go in there and just like, just kind of let loose and go shopping. But I will say, if somebody sent me a carrier pigeon, there's a 10 out of 10 chance that I'm going to respond to that. Uh, well, and it's so funny just kind of reading this review. And the reason I was thinking, like, did this come from one of my properties? Like, why have I seen this before? And it's because the biggest thing that people want from an apartment community, from a property, is really just communication. Like, they don't care about your pool tables, they don't care about your coffee bar, they don't care about, I don't know, the 6 rose bushes that you have in front. They just want to know that if they have a genuine problem, if you're going to pick up that phone, if there's a maintenance emergency, are you just going to be left on red? Are they going to have to send carrier pigeons to let you know that there's a water leak? Like, you never know. Um, you never know what's going on in somebody's mind about what the future is going to hold if the current situations, I've been trying to call them 15 times to get a tour, and that's their lack of response.
We at Jay Turner, we view communication as this straw that breaks the camel's back, right? Uh, so often we'll see negative online reviews that involve things like parking or noise complaints or general cleanliness of the property, right? Like we expect to see those things, but what comes with a lot of those negative reviews is the communication aspect, right? Where it says, "Hey, the trash has been on the ground for X many times. I've told the office this many times and nothing's been done about it," right? So there's that breakdown in communication. Um, talking a little bit about this review, right? It's pretty silly. Like someone obviously was pretty upset they couldn't get a hold of someone talking about smoke blowing back into the apartment and that type of stuff. And you brought up a really great point that if something is broken, right, it needs to be fixed, and there has to be a great way for them to get a hold of us to let us know that we need something, or that we have to go get something fixed. What are some common communication breakdowns you see in the industry, and what causes those? And in particular on site, like what would cause a resident some issues to not be able to get a hold of someone in the office?
So it's so funny that you say that because I was sitting back and thinking about my very first property manager job. And like I'm telling you, we were one step away from handwritten ledgers. I think we were still accepting cash, and I've only been in the industry for 5 years. Like we were just so like dinosaur age. Like somebody had told me that rent changes daily. I'm like, how do y'all keep up with that? Like we were writing down leases on a clipboard. I'm not even kidding. But sometimes, like if you like, let's go back to the basics, right? In my first property, all we had was a phone. Like all we had was phone calls. Like it didn't matter if somebody was sitting in front of you asking about a lease. If that phone rang, you answered the phone, greeted them, asked them how you could help them, and if you needed to, you put them on hold or transfer it to the next person. But we did not miss a phone call in that office. Like out of 1,000 phone calls, maybe we missed one, and I'm not exaggerating. But that was the only form of communication we had with residents. We didn't have like a resident portal. We didn't have an email. We didn't do Facebook. We didn't do text message communication. There was only phone calls, and so it was important that we made sure that we answered those phone calls. And our resident communication there, I want to say, was one of the best that I ever had in my 5 years of management. On the flip side, when I went to a more corporate style property, there was a rule that you do not answer the phone if somebody's in front of you. You want to give them the most undivided attention. And that was very conflicting for me. The phone is ringing, there's somebody on the other line, and they are needing to be acknowledged. But I'm in here helping somebody. My leasing office, my leasing staff is on a tour, and my assistant manager is making phone calls to residents. Who has the ability to answer that phone aside from me who's helping somebody? So it's very conflicting, and it's and I'd love your hot take on this. If you were in front of me asking about an apartment, would it be rude for me to answer the phone or not? And so that's one of the things that we kind of have conflicting, is that you're just not supposed to do that. And a lot of properties are understaffed. So let me ask you, Marcus, what would you do?
Ooh, that's That's tough. So one of the things I will say is this, like we did a study at the end of last year and just asked prospects, in your search for a new house or a new home, new place to call home, did you have any emails or phone calls go unanswered? And what we got back from that data was a little bit shocking to me. Almost 40% of respondents said, yes, I've had a call go back, uh, or them not answer and then them not give me a call back either. And I think that's really shocking. So I kind of like both approaches here. If I'm going to be honest, right? If you're sitting in front of me, I don't want to be rude to you, but I also don't want to be rude to the person on the phone. And there's not ever I don't think it should be like a really black and white, this way or that way kind of thing. I think you just have to feel that conversation. You and I are pretty close at this point. I might be, hey, Ashley, give me 1 second here. I just got to answer this phone. I'll put them on hold real quick and then we'll get right back into this. That could be a thing, right? But if you're in the middle of talking lease agreement stuff, you might have to let that phone call just ring for a minute. But I
You,
think what's
you
really
just
important in
might.
this is that you still give them a call back, right? Like we have this
Yes.
type of information. Caller ID these days is very important.
Now, one thing about me is if I get on the phone, and the girls always, they laugh at me for this. If I get on the phone with you, it's going to be a minimum of a 15-minute phone call, because I don't want to just know why you're calling. Now we're having a conversation. Now, like by the time you walk into my office to tour with me, we're going to be besties. We're going to be the best of friends. We're going to go have coffee together in my business center. And that's one of the things that I recognize about myself, is I'm kind of a talker when I get on the phone. And so my phone calls sometimes can last 20 minutes. If I know I have a meeting coming up in the next 5 minutes, I may ask my other team members, hey, get that phone call, get a message, let's call them back. And so also, with a lot of managers, we have meetings back to back. Everything is so meticulously scheduled that the difference of making your next meeting on time could be the difference of that 1 5-minute phone call. And that's some things that we should really kind of look back and assess, like, what is the heart of property management? Resident satisfaction, um, prospect satisfaction, making people feel wanted. If you took 10 people in here, and of those 10 people, they all had an amazing experience, there's a great chance that all of them will lease. But if 20 people have a bad experience, your odds go down and you've done double the work. And so I'm a person who likes to work a lot smarter rather than harder. And so just making sure that of the people that come in, if they have the best experience, we're going to lease much faster. And it's also recognizing my strengths and weaknesses as a manager. Sometimes I may not be the best person to answer that phone call because I don't want the other person to feel rushed on the other side of the phone. And so that's kind of my thoughts on it.
No, I think that's perfect. One of the things that we've been throwing around the office a lot here recently is this: we get really caught up in, being at the community as work, but sometimes I think we forget that what we're actually doing is providing homes to people.
Mm.
And whenever you think of like the word home, does not answering phone call come to mind? Probably not. You think safe, secure. You think someone's going to help me if I have an issue. So I want to keep on this topic, this communication, guided topic. But I want to ask you about this. One of the things that the industry is really pushing, for is the adoption of technology as a way to help on-site staff, and kind of help reduce some of these issues going through. And so my question to you, Ashley, is what role does technology like online portals or resident apps play in improving communication and streamlining processes?
This is again so great because I love technology. But I'm very 50-50 on this. So I did work at a property and we utilized AI. I think it was Meet Elise AI. And what it was is it would reach out to your delinquent residents for you, and it would reach out to prospects who were touring. Like it was really cool. Um, but on the flip side of that is these are people on the other end of the phone. And sometimes getting a generalized email from an AI robot does not do the justice that it needs to whenever you're trying to build that relationship with the prospect. So on the front end of it, we're going to get, let's say, 30 people coming in a month. And of those people, again, not all of them are interested in leasing, but being contacted and letting them know that we're out there, that's a great tool. But the thing about it is you have to rely on your technology and your AI as a tool. Otherwise, you are going to get toppled by the AI. And if I can kind of rephrase that a little bit, whenever so looking back, like I told you, I started at a property with no technology at all. And so I had to learn from the bare basics how everything worked. And so for me, I had to do handwritten leases, handwritten ledgers. And then I developed, I got to the technology side where somebody did, like the technology did that for me. But I had the previous knowledge on how that worked. Same thing with how to do like a lease agreement. And so I was using these as tools, but I knew how to do them individually, like by myself already. It's kind of like knowing how to do math and then using a calculator. If you don't know how to do math, you can't check the calculator to make sure it's correct. And I think that if you start with just using that technology, you're putting yourself at a disadvantage because you are using it as a crutch rather than a tool. And you're not getting to the heart of why we're actually um, using the AI. You are too busy trying to manage the AI when it's supposed to be freeing up your time. And so if you're spending too much time working on that, trying to work out the kinks, like, I'm sorry, my AI robot's calling you and threatening eviction for a 2 cent balance. I'm so sorry about that. You have to kind of watch your technology. So I'm still 50-50 on it. I love using technology and the purpose of it being a tool, but if you don't understand why we use the tool, it's not going to help anybody.
So, just to tie a bow on that, what you're saying is the technology is great. We like it because it can free up time, but there's still a human touch, a human element that needs to be part of the process too, right? Like you can't have a robot talk to somebody from start to finish, right? There
Absolutely.
needs to be some level of personalization through the form of human interaction.
Technology is supposed to kind of weed out those like, maybe I'll lease there, maybe. They're supposed to do the basic conversation for you so you can focus your time on the people who really are trying to live at your community so you can have more time to build a better relationship and personal connection with them as opposed to just spending your time sending emails. Are you interested in this still? So let the technology do that part so you can focus on what really matters with the people who really matter. So to tie like a double bow on it, that's the one.
That's perfect. It sounds great to me. That actually segues really nicely into my final question for you today. If I am a property management company executive, or even just like a newly minted property manager, right? What can I do to empower my teams to effectively address resident concerns and build positive relationships, like in a human kind of way?
You know, I think with resident concerns and complaints, there's like there's certain responses that people want. Some people want a solution. Some people want to be heard, and some people just want to complain. They just feel better whenever they have ability to vent it out. And I think that the important thing is recognizing what somebody is wanting. If somebody is spending the time to write a review, because I mean, that's really where we hear a lot of feedback is on the reviews on our J Turner, on Google. You're seeing those. If somebody's taking the time to express a concern, take it seriously. As silly as they may be with smoke signals and carrier pigeons, there is somebody out there who is upset. And it is our job to either hear them out, fix it, or just accept it. And I think that when you come into this, like they're not attacking you all of the time, they're not attacking you. They are wanting their problem to be resolved. Then you can kind of take the emotion out of it and start working towards getting a solution for them. And so, what I would say to somebody newly in the business is take those reviews seriously. Other people are going to be looking at them and taking them seriously. So, find a way to fix it, hear them out, and learn from it so it doesn't happen again.
I think that's absolutely perfect. Um, everything that you've said has just made so much sense to me. I think that there is something so important when we work in this industry like this, where we have to be willing to accept what someone has said, and then try to make the change, right? We don't get better unless we recognize some of the faults. And now, not everything is fixable, and some people will always find reasons to complain about the silliest things. But in the case of someone
Absolutely.
saying, maybe I should just send a carrier pigeon, I feel like that's an opportunity where we probably could have answered the phone. Ashley, I want to thank you so much for talking with me today. I think that you have given our listeners something really excellent. Thank you so much for everything you do within the industry. I am extremely excited to see where you end up in the next few years. Don't worry, we will always be in communication. I like having people in high places in my pocket, so it's really great to have you around. For everyone, thank you for listening so much today to the Multifamily Leaders Podcast. Please be sure to subscribe on Spotify and Apple Podcasts so you don't miss another exciting episode. Thank you so much, Ashley.
Marcus, thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.